Just can't get good help these days.
Good to go.
Hello again, race fans and esports enthusiasts everywhere. It's time for the Atlanta Motorcar Club and Storage GT3 Cup. This is round 5 of the 4th season in the Atlanta Motorsports Park eSeries. Tonight, 40 minutes at the Brands Hatch Circuit in West Kingsdown, Kent, England. It's a 2.433 mile road course. And tonight should be very interesting. Not that the other weeks aren't interesting, but a few curveballs have been thrown at our field tonight thanks to the good folks up in Massachusetts at iRacing. They came out with a quarterly update today, and a lot of things have changed. And here to explain what's going on is my sidekick and our producer and director, Will Rigdon. Tell them about it.
Well, Bill, it was a very exciting day. I was up at the office over at Atlanta Motorsports Park. I got this text message from one of my coworkers that said, "You better get home and start downloading this patch," because there was 12.5 gigabytes of goodies waiting on me when we got home, and that was the quarterly iRacing patch. One of the big things that changed with this patch is they removed the BMW from our field. So because of that, we have actually had to implement a change within the league itself. We're allowing all the drivers to make at least one car change. So if your favorite driver is not driving the same car you're used to watching him in, that is why. And right now, according to all the drivers, the Ferrari is going to be one of the more popular cars, as that is what we saw most of the drivers change to. But part of what happened with this quarterly update is they changed almost everything about these cars. Like I said, they're going to be patching in a new car in a few weeks to replace the BMW, but that one is not quite ready yet. But with these current cars, they've changed almost everything on them, including wheelbase, tire compound, and pretty much all the handling characteristics on this car are having to be relearned right now by the drivers. And since this patch just went live about 6 hours ago, these drivers pretty much are getting off work, logging in, and this is the first time they're driving on these cars. So it's going to be
literally rolling this off the truck.
Yes, and we are probably one
without having tested it, yeah.
And we're probably one of the very first leagues to actually have a race on these new tire compounds and these new car setups. So, you know, as always, the Atlanta Motorsports Park eSeries is breaking ground and treading, you know, or leading the way.
Cutting edge.
Yes, and as I say that, our times are just now starting to roll in here. Bill, I'll let you take it from here.
Yep, Jake Browning is top of the leaderboard right now with the fastest time, but that is likely to change as these drivers get their steeds dialed in. We're looking at Ryan Flannery, Dion Fiallo, Zach Holden, and Peter Hutchings, your top 5 so far. But again, let's give these guys another couple laps here. These laps run about a little less than a minute and a half each.
And while we're waiting for more times to get up here, it's probably going to be a good time to take a look at our championship standings here.
That would be a good idea.
If I can get
the graphic, can adjust my volume while we're doing that.
If I can get the right graphic to show up here. Of course, I would say this and not have it queued up and ready to go.
You know, I think that it won't be the first glitch or the last that we see tonight, given the way this day started. But we all got it figured out. We didn't even think we were going to be on the air tonight. So I think everything else is great.
There was a day one exploit going on because none of it was working when when everybody showed up today. The iRacing launcher wasn't working. The website wasn't working. And this was affecting everybody across the board. It was basically to get in a race with iRacing, instead of owning a single car, you had to own every car that was in the classification. So if you were joining, say, a GT3 race, rather than having to own the Ferrari or the McLaren or the Mercedes, you had to own all 4 cars that were in the classification. And, you know, we're not going to penalize our drivers and make them have to purchase an extra $30 worth of cars to be able to race
not if
here
we
tonight.
Not if we don't get a percentage.
So with that,
all right. Well, Jake Browning still sitting atop here. Dion Fiallo has crept up to second. Flannery is third. There's Don Squirk. He is moved up to fourth.
And there we go.
And
We
Zach
finally got
Holden
our
now
points.
There
Finally
we
got our
go.
points loaded up here. Yeah, real quick, because this is important. So we have voted to eliminate Imola from our schedule. So next week will be the season finale at Spa, which is going to be really fun, really interesting with these new cars. But going into that, our leaderboard, number one is pretty locked in right now. Don Squarick has a 9-point lead over Zach Holden. He, even though he didn't win last week, had a pretty strong finish and has been consistent all season, with Dion and Ryan Flannery having a couple of issues for 2 races early on that pretty much put them out of contention for the podium, which opened up the door for Zach Holden and Brant Estes to make a charge up to the top. Now, Brant Estes, as y'all remember last week, had a little bit of trouble and had a low finish, which hurt him in his chase to catch Don and all but pretty much put him out of the running. So right now he is in a hot contested battle with Zach Holden. We are still eagerly waiting to see if he logs in and can join the race tonight, because with racing, he actually races in real life up at the track up at AMP, and it was told to me that right before closing time he was running in the door at AMP, which might not be a big issue, you say it to yourself at home, but Brant lives about 3 hours away from the track, so he is probably hauling it down. He's probably hauling everything in the wind down 85 trying to get home back to Alabama. So hopefully he will make it, because if he is not able to start tonight, that is going to all but do him in for a podium finish in this season. But with that being said, Matt Lassiter is right there on the cusp in 4th place, and then right behind him is Shuma Onabogu. So look to see how they finish here tonight, Bill, because every position is basically a point. So with 14 drivers loaded in here tonight, that's upwards of 14 or 13 positions or points that these drivers can gain, in theory, assuming somebody wins and the person they're trying to catch is dead last. So clear as mud for everybody listening at home, hopefully. And with that being said, let's go back and look at some of our current qualifying times, because I believe this session has about 2 minutes to go.
We are, 7 minutes and 50 seconds into the 10-minute qualifying session. And we're seeing a number of folks just lose it trying to get a handle on these cars. Ryan Flannery right there. And others going, there goes our points leader, Don Squarick.
This could be the wild card race that shakes things up here, Bill, leading into Spa next week.
Well, think about it. I wonder if Don might be thinking, let's just play it conservative. He's got a 9-point lead. All he has to do is kind of put in a podium finish, and he'll have a good cushion going into the final race next week at Spa. But give the variable here is the unknown of the new tire model and the various modifications and updates that went into effect with this quarterly update.
Zach Holden will be somebody to watch here tonight too, Bill, because if he can have a strong finish, it'll all but cement him a podium spot too, regardless of how he finishes next week. And
well, the top 6 are within a second of each other as far as their lap times. Top 2, of course, like we've been seeing Dion Fiallo in the mix every week, and he's only a 10th behind Jake Browning. That lap of Jake Browning's still standing.
And Jake Browning, a surprising newcomer last week. It's always fun when friends of Dion join the league here, because it's always nice to have some more competition up there at the top.
Final 30 seconds of qualifying now. Can anybody knock Jake Browning off the pole? Once everybody passes the start-finish line, they will be done. And we're seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars, I believe, that are still out there. You're looking at Dion Fiallo. He's the last car. When he crosses the line, everybody should be done. And he's got one more chance to see if he can knock off Jake Browning. Checkered flag falling for everyone else that comes past the start-finish line.
And he has to make sure he keeps this one clean, so any 4 off is going to invalidate the time. as we've seen a lot of these drivers doing so far with this new tire compound and these new layouts. And I think he's going to be content with that outside pole.
He did. He just cut it off right there. He had one more lap to go, but he pulls it in. So still have a few other cars out there, but I think everybody is done now. Exactly. I don't know if any of these times count.
I think they do have the chance to get it back to the line, Bill.
I must have misread the graphic then, because it looked like Dion was the last one.
Well, he was the last one to cross the finish line before the 10-minute marker hit.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Everybody else is done. They're just out there getting a little extra track time until they're forced to grid. And probably this week more than any is important to get as many seconds out there on the circuit in these new cars.
Well, one of the problems, like we were saying in the pre-race, is even if you were able to get home and get this thing patched the second it launched, it's only been out for 6 hours, and the first, say, 4 hours of that, nobody could log into the game. So this is very much new. This is new ground for these drivers, and this will be a, don't want to call it a circus, but it'll be a fun ride tonight, Bill.
All righty. With that being said, your pole sitter will be Jake Browning, followed by Dion Fiallo, then Ryan Flannery, Don Squirk, Zach Holden, Matt Lassiter, Michael Day, Michael Green, Chuma Onabogu, Peter Hutchings, Mitchell Bright, David Sintel, Tevin Capwell, and Corbin Mitchell, rounding out your 14-car field. I don't know whether, I guess we're not going to see Brant Estes on time tonight. Of course, he probably ran into the same problems everybody else did.
Oh, he's probably running the door and, crap, I got 12 gigs to download.
If he hasn't updated the sim yet, yep, he definitely won't be here on time. So here we go, as the aforementioned grid, Browning and Fiallo on the front row. With 2 minutes to get everybody gridded up. And turn one should be fun. Now, I had the opportunity once we figured out how to get on the course, and run a few laps here at Brands Hatch. And the course was built back in the 40s. It wasn't used for, actually it was a natural amphitheater that was run on by motorcycles in the grass. They had practiced there. They ran races there until finally they laid down tarmac in the 50s, and it officially became a race course where sanctioned races were held. It was then expanded from an original mile to a mile and a half, and now to its present 2.433 miles by a series of expansions and modifications. There is one place, I'm trying to remember the name of the corner, there used to be a chicane here. It was put in, and it was taken out. It's kind of like a toll, a toll booth. You don't usually see those disappear once they're put in, but in fact, the chicane was put in and then taken out. So, a fast course with some tricky off-camber corners, and I tell you what, I don't think I've ever been to a track that seemed like every time you're cresting a hill, there's a curve right after the crest of the hill. And that's why you see a lot of skid marks and tire marks in the runoff from these corners come up on you, blind corners come up on you in a hurry. It looks like we have everybody on the grid. The lights are on, and here goes the pace truck taking the field away. They'll complete the last portion of a lap here, and we should get the rolling start very shortly here at Brands Hatch.
And we're going to look to see Jake Browning here set the pace. This could be his decision when he wants to step on it.
And we see them come out of the turn and take the green. We are underway here at Brands Hatch. And taking off and getting in front, Jake Browning, your pole sitter, followed by Dion Fiallo. To no one's surprise, these two will try to put a little distance between Ryan Flannery and Zach Holden. Field spreads out single file pretty nicely. I'm thinking nobody really wants to dice it up too soon here, especially given the unknowns. And I don't know how much traffic these guys have run in these newly updated cars.
I would expect to see them be fairly conservative here at the start. I mean, obviously during qualifying they're going all out and in the practice sessions, but I would expect, especially if they're running in the top 5 of the points, I would expect to see them be pretty conservative right now, Bill.
So your leader, Jake Browning, already putting...
And it looks like we already had some...
A little bit of action back in the field.
That's what it's telling me on the HUD here.
Yep.
And that looked like
Shuma
on a Bogu and David Sintel.
A little sideways.
And that's not good for him because he's on the cusp of that point standing. Currently in the 5th position.
He may need a squishy after today with the quickie mark colors he's carrying tonight. And the turn I was mentioning is Westfield Bend, where I believe is where they took the chicane out. It used to be called the Dingle corner or curve, I believe. But these curves are known by names rather than numbers.
Well, one of the interesting things you will see here is the runoff areas. A lot of them, they've got that artificial turf, or that turf compound, I should say, because it still sticks like asphalt, even though it looks like they're running off into the grass. And it's meant to do that, and it does not inflict a 4-off penalty on the drivers when they do that.
Well, it's always good to keep these guys on the straight and narrow and keep them legal. But when they're pushing the cars to the limit, you're going to want as much room or margin for error. Getting that great metallic paint jobs as well here. Looking at Michael Day's metallic gold, and they've got a chrome one out there as well.
He was actually one of the first people to get home after the update here. He, when I got in and I logged in, he had already uploaded a bunch of paint schemes for everybody because he knew a lot of folks would be switching cars, and managed to upload about 8 different paint schemes for the drivers, for anybody wanting to join Friend Motorsport.
So we are 3 minutes and a piece into this 40-minute event here. And while we have a second, I'd like to call out to our sponsor, Atlanta Motorcar Club and Storage. It's located in Cumming, Georgia. Now, while car storage is their backbone, creating an exciting and unique experience for car enthusiasts is their passion. Combining unparalleled collector car storage with an active calendar full of social events, parties, organized driving events, and other activities is what they do best. Cars are showcased in their highly secure, climate-controlled storage gallery featuring larger-than-life artwork, diamond polished flooring, and engineered lighting systems designed to highlight the beauty of their members' cars. They offer white glove services with easy and convenient access to stored cars. Check out their website at www.atlantamotorcar.com and schedule a tour.
And their storage gallery is something to behold, Bill. Can't think of a better place in Atlanta to go grab a drink when you can stand around 50 plus really cool, and it's a good mixture of supercars, classics. Just you think of it, they've probably had one in the gallery at some point in time, and it's fun sipping on a good whiskey cola or a bourbon on the rocks and staring at people's cars, and it's a really fun place. And also, if you want to have meetings, business, all that, they've got a lot of areas to congregate and hang out. It's a pretty cool joint. It's over in Cumming, Georgia, so anybody taking a trip up 400 to see us should always stop by there too on the way home.
Five minutes in now. Your leader is still Jake Browning. He's opened up a 2-second gap there. A little action there. Dion, just the announcer's curse. I almost said his name, but Dion lost 3 positions. He's back to fourth now, or 2 positions, but from second back to fourth.
And that might have held up Michael Day a little bit there, too.
Oh, yeah.
Getting back on track. Let's see if we can go back and see what happened there to Dion. Oh, it looks like he went 4 off there, and he overcorrected.
He just got on the grass. Yep. And once you lose traction, he caught the barrier too, but it doesn't seem well.
See if we can go to the chase cam.
It's bound to affect the handling. Yep.
Because it looks like as he was coming in here, he was just trying to nip the turn, but I think he got all 4 off.
He caught the rumble strips there with the.
And then he overcorrected that
curve
skid
with the left sides, but he went all 4 off there. And as he said, we were going to see some use of that runoff. Back with your leader, Jake Browning. Fortuitous for him, he now has a 3.38 second lead over now second place Ryan Flannery. Zach Holden assumes third, and Dion falls back to fourth. Michael Day right behind him, or was right behind him, in fifth. Whereas Peter Hutchings, Michael Green, Don Squirick, Mitchell Bright, and Corbin Mitchell make up your top 10. So if you're an iRacing enthusiast and would like to join the AMP community of online racers, join our Discord server linked in the description of this video. AMP hosts community racing nights every Monday and Friday from 7 to 9 p.m. and is open for anyone to join. Information for both the eSeries and community nights can be found on the Discord server.
We don't bite, we promise.
But not every night is like tonight as far as obstacles. I mean, it's still a lot of fun. Sometimes you meet technical challenges, but it's always fun, and it's definitely fun to watch. If it's half as fun to drive as it is to watch, you know it's going to be a good time.
Let's see if we can find some action here, Bill. Our leaders have managed to spread out a good bit. Jake Browning putting almost a 4-second, about 3.65 second gap right now over second place of Ryan Flannery, who himself has about another 3.5 second gap over the third place of Zach Holden. And looks like there might be a little bit of action back here, some lap traffic trying to get around. A battle between Corbin Mitchell and David Sintel.
Yeah, it looks like Bright has dropped back a couple because he was in 10th on the previous lap, as you can tell from his indicator up in the right corner of his windshield.
Well, it looks like he had a couple of off tracks here. We can go to the replay here. See if we can see what happened here. Although most of the off tracks here are probably not going to damage the car unless you end up hitting the wall or a fellow competitor. Let's see. It looks like just checking on our series leader, Don Squirick, had a little bit of trouble early on.
Yeah, Don is back in 7th. So Brands Hatch and the quarterly release are not to his liking so far.
And you know Zach Holden, hopefully he's not paying attention right now and just focusing on his race, but for every position he has above Squirick will only help him claw at that 9-point deficit he has right now, and hopefully maybe give himself a shot next week at getting the win in the series.
That's true. I honestly wasn't expecting Squirick to have as much trouble as he seems to be having in the early going here. Not his typical qualifying showing, but he isn't charging up through the field as we've seen him do before.
Well, not
only do
we have the patch, but he did switch cars as well, because he went from that Mercedes to the Audi.
Well, he's a good 3 seconds behind 6th place Hutchings. So he's got to make up that ground, and he'll pick them off one by one if he can. And maybe as he gets this car sorted out. we may see some improvement. But again, this is just a 40-minute race, and we're already 1/4 of the way through. 10 minutes and 24 seconds elapsed. So less than 30 minutes to go now.
And it looks like Dion is trying to run back up to the head of the field. He is closing in on Zach Holden right now. His last lap was almost a full half-second quicker than Zach Holden, so I would expect to see this 1.3-second gap evaporate here in the next lap or two.
Well, Dion's McLaren apparently was not damaged enough to necessitate a pit stop for a quick repair, so he's able to close in on third place Holden, and we see them in the same frame now, so we should have some action very shortly as Dion is got the pedal to the metal, as they say, trying to make up that time from that little incident he had earlier on.
And I mean, this race is only a quarter of the way through, Bill, so Dion still has some time. There's only about, let's see what this says here. He's only about 9 seconds, 8.8 seconds from the leader. So if he can maintain pace, because just looking at his last lap, he was a full second faster than Jake Browning. So he is making some time here consistently, although Jake Browning does have a faster, best lap. But, at this point it's about consistency. And if he drove those tires off these first 10 minutes, he's going to have to be conservative for the next 10 before he does that mandatory pit stop.
And pit strategy can make a difference as well. As we've seen pit strategy figure into it the last several weeks.
I mean, if you overshoot the spot, you come in too slow, you don't
come in on the wrong lap, or you have a bad out lap, or there's a whole number of things that can and probably will go wrong for somebody on these pit stops.
And Zach Holden right now is doing a really good job of fending off Dion. He is not giving up any ground. He is holding himself, and that gap is remaining fairly constant. Although, as I speak, Dion lobs off another 0.2 of a second. And it looks like we had a little action back here. Don Squirrett getting around. Oh, well, that was why.
Yep.
Looks like Peter Hutchins had himself a little incident. Ooh, that was very unfortunate because this is his first week back after taking a couple weeks off, and I know he's excited to have being in that 6th spot and having a strong showing.
But he didn't touch anything, at least, so that's good. All he lost was time. But that does allow Don Squirk to pick up a position, brings him up to 6th. So worst case, he'll lose 5 points.
Although he's got a little bit of space between him and Michael Day. He's about 4 seconds from Michael Day, so that's a pretty good cushion. Michael's got about 5 seconds in front of him and 4 seconds behind him. So he's not feeling the heat too much right now, and I'm sure he'd be fine taking a top 5. Although I know he's obviously shooting for the podium. But anything here tonight, just driving it across the finish line, especially with these new tire models, is going to be a victory for these drivers.
Closing in on minute number 15.
And now that 1.3-second gap is down to 0.4 seconds here. Or look at Dion going to try and make a pass.
Once you see Dion in your rearview mirror, they can work on you a little bit, and there he is. The gap has evaporated. Dion now sizing up Zach Holden, trying to get back into 3rd, charge back towards the front. Meanwhile, the gap, though, between Dion and Browning, let's see, what is that gap from the front?
Still about 9.6 seconds.
9 seconds now, yep. And there goes Dion looking to the inside. And he will take 3rd place. And hang on to it. Will Zach have an answer? Does not look like it, as Dion starts to put a little distance between himself and Zach Holden. And Curse of the announcers. It just came around on him. There he goes again. I mean, that's what cost him that position before. Now he's going to lose an additional spot or two.
And it looks like Squirk was able to get
Day
around
and
him.
Squirk are going to get around him. Yep. So Dion, that just looked like it just snapped on him. Can we go back and look at that again?
Yeah, let's see what happened there.
Do we have a camera on that? Yeah, okay. Did he just get a tire up in the grass? Did he get a little too high trying to cut down and nip that apex?
Let's see if we can slow it down here.
He went to turn in, and I guess he had that right rear.
He might have still been on the brakes. He might have still been on the brakes. And fortunately, he just tapped that tire barrier, so probably didn't do too much damage to him. I would not expect him to hit the pits just yet.
You think the tires are starting to go away? That can't be. I mean, these guys are too tire savvy, I would think.
Well, the tires should last. I mean, the tires should last for a 40-minute race. These are sprint cars, so
I mean,
they're meant for running sprint races. We just do the tire change as a competitive thing to force them to have to make a pit stop.
But tires do go away, and if you're asking more of the tire than it's available, than it's able to give you, say they've run 12 laps so far.
Yes, I mean they. It's not like they're. What I'm getting at is they're not going to blow up on you, but it does make a difference when you get fresh tires. But given the choice in a sprint race, if they don't have to stop at all, these drivers would just stay out there and play with the tires. But since they can't legally finish the race without making the pit stop, is why is why it is a factor here.
Back up front with your leader, Jake Browning, now enjoying a 5.86 second lead over Ryan Flannery. Then Zach Holden another 8 seconds from there. Then Michael Day another 5 after that. So this field's starting to spread out. And, if you know a teenager who's recently received their driver's license and is looking to become an even safer driver, Drive Strong at Atlanta Motorsports Park is a great option. Courses maintain a 3-to-1 student-to-instructor ratio while taking advantage of AMP's world-class facilities to teach new drivers advanced skills that can't be taught anywhere else. Drive Strong accepts teenage drivers who at least have their learner's permit, as well as 20 hours of experience on the road. More information and class registration can be found at drivestrong.org. And here's 14 guys driving strong out here. Some stronger than others, because there's Jake Browning with a 6-second lead now over second place Ryan Flannery. Now here comes.
This looks like Squirk's on the tail of Michael Day right now.
Don Squirk looking to get into the top 4. He's currently 5th. Michael Day swings it wide. They're in 4th place.
And he's got to be feeling the pressure when the series leader is breathing down your neck.
Every position is a point, and Squirk is trying to protect that 9-point lead he currently has in the series.
And we only have one more race to go after this, so a strong finish here tonight will almost all but seal the deal for Squirk if he's able to either maintain or add anything to that lead right now over Zach Holden. And he is currently only 2 spots, or 1 spot separates, and that's Michael Day separates Zach Holden from Don Squirk.
Squirk being very patient, though, with Day. Staying in his tire tracks, waiting for his opportunity to get a run, and there he goes. Looks to the outside. Yep, pulls out, slingshots on by. So there goes Don Squirk into 4th, relegating Michael Day back to 5th. And so let's go looking ahead then.
So he's got about 5 seconds to gain on Zach Holden. And we just hit the halfway point, Bill, so expect to see some pit stops rolling in here any moment now. And this is where things will get shaken up. It'll be interesting to see how Jake Browning and Ryan Flannery, I'd expect to see them stay out the longest. But what I'm really interested to see is if Dion decides to stay out or not, or if he'll go ahead and make his pit stop. And actually, it looks like he already did. As we were following that last battle, it looks like Dion did make his pit stop. And he did that just
lap
before
12, yep.
Yeah, and he did that just before halfway. I'm sure with tapping the wall twice, his car was probably having a little bit of issues, even though he made it look like it wasn't. Uh-oh, looks like we had some change of position up here at the top. This is not good. Your
Jake
leader,
Browning, Ryan Flannery overtakes him. What happened? Oh, he just snapped it around. He did the same thing that Dion did. He got that tire off into the grass.
Two off while he was in the while he was in that braking zone. Oh man, and that 15-second lead gone just like that.
All right, well, we'll have something to watch here. See if Browning can haul in Ryan Flannery. Gap now is 4.5 seconds or 4.25 seconds right now, with pit stops yet to come as well. We've run 15 laps. We're on lap 16 right now. We're in the 22nd minute of this 40-lap event here at Brands Hatch Circuit.
And man, if you're Jake Browning, you got to be kicking yourself right now because, you know, if anything, you should just be taking it about 90% until we get to those fresh tires.
Well, if it can happen to Browning, and it can happen to Fialo, it can happen to Flannery, it can happen to Holden, it can happen to Squirrick, it can happen to anybody. The way these cars have been a little dicey. Ooh, that was kind of cutting it close there as he nipped more than the apex there. Look at that. He's getting off into that.
He is using every square inch of this racetrack right now, Bill.
And then some. Comes back around. He'll be completing his 16th lap. The gap at the line will be around 4 seconds, so we'll keep an eye on if he's closing in on that. Of course, pit stops will make a difference too.
And also make sure to keep an eye on Zach Holden. He is only 9 seconds out of the lead right now. So with that incident with Jake Browning, managed to shave off about half the gap that he needed to climb up to the top.
How far was Don behind?
And yeah, it looks
Holden?
like Squirrick as well. Yeah, he's only 4 seconds off right now.
Yeah, we are seeing him get larger and larger as we look at that view of Holden. You can see that red Squirrick machine, number 75, get larger and larger, closer and closer.
I keep wanting to call that Brant Estes because he was our lone Audi driver for the first 4 races of this season. Although I'm sure he's going to be happy to have some company when he logs in next week.
So given the kind of twitchy tendencies these cars seem to be showing, just one little mistake and the rundown could change very quickly, and we've seen that already. Jake Browning, who looked practically invincible, and then your leader, second place, your erstwhile leader, Jake Browning is in the pit. Chuma is pitting as well right now.
And that's a pretty smart move, Bill. We've seen the last few weeks that the leader likes to stay out the longest and waits for everybody else to pit before he goes in, but that hasn't always played to their benefit because then they're left on an outlap with cold tires and second place hot on their heels with warm tires.
Indeed. Let's go back and see what Flannery's going to be doing then.
I would almost expect to see him dip in here this lap or the next, Bill. Really doesn't serve much of a benefit. I mean, I guess if the tires are fine and they're still sticking the way you want because, you know, these guys don't know these cars that well yet. So, you know, the tire wear might not be as critical this race, but, you know, common sense would tell me just to run it right down, split it right down the middle so you have an even amount of wear on both sets of tires.
Yes, indeed.
And Ryan Flannery is not going to pit this time by?
Not this time by.
And let's see what Zach Holden does. He's going to stay out. Squirrick's going to stay out. And that's your top four, all within 15 seconds of one another. And then there's the big gap of another 20 seconds all the way back to 5th place, Peter Hutchings. And he's going to stay out.
Jake Browning only 17 seconds off the lead now. If I'm reading my numbers correctly here. Nope, I take that back.
54 seconds.
54 seconds. Okay,
I think you're looking at the laps.
I was looking at the wrong gap. Yep. I thought, boy, that he made up some time somewhere, but that couldn't be right.
And it looks like Tevin Capwell and Corbin Mitchell have both made their way into the pits, which pretty much leaves that top 5 as the only people that have not made their pit stops yet.
So we should see that any time now. Who's that having trouble there?
That might have been Mitchell. Nope, that might have been.
Did you take a tow?
Oh, that was David Sintel. Yeah, I think he took a tow. His race might be over. Let's see if we can look and see what happened here. I think he just
run out of gas.
Maybe. Nah, I don't know if it was gas or an engine failure.
Don't see any smoke.
Still got power for the headlights. And it looks like Browning had another incident here popped up.
Did a little off-roading there, but he managed to keep it straight at least.
He took that one on safari there, Bill.
Yep. All right, so when's Ryan Flannery going to pit? That's the question everyone's asking. And will Holden, Squirrick, Day, and Hutchings follow?
Because Squirrick is about
right
to cut
there.
that gap in half right now. So, yeah, he is only a second and a half back from your second place of Zach Holden and also second place in the series right now. And it looks like Flannery.
And your leader is in the pits now. Yep. Flannery is come into the pit.
So let's see what happens here.
And we will see what happens
Holden
with Jake
out.
Browning now.
And Squirrick is going to go
Squirrick. In. Yep.
And it looks like Michael Day also.
So the only ones left out there are going to be Holden and Hutchings. And we'd expect to see them very soon.
Hutchings might dip in this time. Bye.
There's the entrance, and there he goes. So Hutchings is in. All that's left is your leader, Zach Holden.
Too bad we don't give imaginary bonus points for leading a lap during the race, because that would definitely shake up these pit strategies. And that would definitely be my suggestion for next season. I'll throw that one in the box when we start
a lap leader bonus. Yep.
When we start voting at the end of the season. Which, talking to the guys right now, I know I always say legends because that's secretly what I want to do, and that's a handful of the guys always want to do legends, but they're talking about possibly doing an IndyCar series next season
with the new Delaras.
With the new Delaras and the new damage models. So when they crash, it will be spectacular.
Yeah, you might want to get a seat further away from the track surface if you're actually onside.
As Ryan Flannery was telling me before the race, all 4 wheels will come flying off.
Excellent. Now here we go. Yep, and there goes Holden into the pit. So everyone will now have made their mandatory stop. So let's see what cycles back around. Ryan Flannery will still be ahead of Jake Browning.
Mike Green in front of him right now. And I don't know if he's going to allow him to pass or if he's going to hold his line, because that could potentially hold up Flannery.
There's Chuma again.
Let's see.
So does that lend itself to the theory that pitting sooner rather than later was the better idea? I don't know, because Browning.
It's going to depend on how much of a cushion Holden has right here. And Flannery, there he goes.
There goes Holden. Holden in the pit, but yeah, Browning is only.
Ooh, he might have taken a full tank. He might have taken a full tank there. That's or not selected some kind of. He might have not turned off his repair.
Thing is, you need to dial up exactly how much fuel you're going to need because that's time and weight.
And
that extra fuel
not good for Zach Holden because he lost. Looks like he lost 5 positions there during that cycle. And I know he's got to be kicking himself in the pants right now. But it almost looked like he forgot that he might have taken a little bit of damage with an earlier incident. And if you don't turn off that repair, when you go into the pits, it's going to give you tires, it's going to give you fuel, and it's going to make you wait for the repair.
All right, we're back to the front of the field. It's, what, a half a second between Flannery and Browning? We should have a battle for the lead very shortly.
So even with those 2 off-track incidents, Browning has been able to take advantage of this round of pits right now. And yeah, there's only half a second now between him and your race leader, Ryan Flannery. And I'm sure that's not how Ryan saw this going down, because he had a pretty sizable lead coming into that pit cycle.
Yeah, but Flannery is visibly closing the gap. Browning is closing the gap, rather, between himself and Flannery. And probably by that next passing zone, we may see him swing out and make an attempt to take the lead.
Well, what this pit cycle has also given us, though, is 2 real exciting battles right now, Bill, because right behind 1 and 2 is 3 and 4 of Dion and Don going head-to-head. Don's managed to work his way back up the field, is only about 0.6 seconds off of Dion right now.
Now that everybody's cars are fixed back up and fresh tires, well, it's time to see who has what.
Because these drivers, as we get closer and closer to the finish here, Bill, with 7 minutes to go in this race, you're going to start to see them get a little bit more and more aggressive. And that could pay off, and it could cost them.
Usually it's one way or the other. So you're looking now at 3rd place, Dion Fiala. Remember, Dion had a couple off-track incidents that cost him, but he's able to make up ground. Currently in 3rd, Don Squirick. This is back as far as, what, 8th, I think it was, and he's found his way up into the top 5 as well.
And as it sits after that last round of pits, if the grid were to stay like it is, he would pick up another 2 points over Zach Holden, extending his lead out to 11 points in the championship standings.
Back to the battle for the lead. It's still about a half a second. It doesn't seem like Browning's been able to close much more. So far. But we have another 16 minutes to go in this race. We've just passed, 6 minutes.
I was going to say, I don't know where you found that extra 10 minutes there, Bill.
I was tutoring math earlier. You'd think I'd be all warmed up on my arithmetic. But yeah, we have less than 6 minutes to go now in this 40-minute event here at Brands Hatch. And as we watch from the cockpit of Jake Browning as he pursues Ryan Flannery, if you are looking to take your real-world racing skills to the next level, AMP is home to Primal Racing School, one of the most unique driving schools in the world due to its exclusive use of the Radical line of track day cars. Primal Racing School is taught by professional racing drivers who have competed in series all around the world. The AMP main circuit is the perfect place to advance your racecraft due to its extremely technical and physical nature. Visit primal.racing to learn more and register for a class today. And look at Jake Browning from our chopper view. He is seems to be closing. And yep, lo and behold, he's cut a tenth off because it's down to 0.4 of a second now as he's trying to close in on Ryan Flannery. Again, he has less than 5 minutes now. We're down to 35.5 minutes in, so it's 4.5 to go. That would be what, 3 laps or so, William?
Give or take, Bill. It's going to really depend on if they can get back to the line before we hit that 40-minute.
There he goes around again. Jake Browning, that may just have handed it to Ryan Flannery, but if it can happen to Browning, it can happen to anyone. He did not lose a position, but it does put him in sights of Dion Fiallo and Squirek.
And with 4 minutes, do you think his nerves get a little shaken there, Bill?
I think just these cars are squirrely as all get out right now. It'll be interesting if they'll talk to us, to hear what these drivers have to say about the events of today. Of course, everybody was dealt the same deck, but
then the pressure is setting in.
That's an unfortunate thing.
Because we are under 4 minutes to go here, Bill.
36.5 now to 3.5 minutes to go. And there's your leader, Ryan Flannery, now with a 6-second lead over second place Jake Browning. So for losing control like that, he didn't lose a whole lot of time, but it just may be too much with just a couple or 3 laps remaining in this one. Let's look at your leader. He's
got about
halfway around the course.
Yeah,
so
he's got about a 6.5 second gap too. So if he's paying attention to, if his spotter's doing his job and telling him what the gap is, he should be able to take this one to the finish line, Bill.
As we come to the line, and we have 2.5 minutes or thereabouts. It'll be probably white flag next time around for Ryan Flannery. Jake Browning struggling again and goes off into the gravel. Is this going to give Fiallo and Squirek a chance to get around him? Yes, it will.
Keep it out
and
of the
there
wall
they go. And what a tough afternoon it's been for Jake Browning.
And I'm sure
your pole sitter, and he led most of the first half of the race, but off-track adventure has been his undoing. As we now see Dion Fiallo second, Don Squirek inherits a podium finish here, given that we can get through the next lap and a half cleanly.
And you know Zach Holden didn't want to see that, because that put another spot between him and Squirek.
So let's go back up to your leader, Ryan Flannery. He is about a half a lap. We are 2 minutes to go, a little less than 2 minutes. So, yeah, it should be one more lap to go
coming
this
up
next time by.
And we're going to go back, because your fight here for second and third.
So coming around that last turn and coming towards the start-finish line is your leader, Ryan Flannery. He'll get the one to go. If I'm following everything correctly. Yep, there we go.
Are you on the Twitch stream or are you in game?
Yeah, really. I don't have the track map, unfortunately, except on the Twitch stream, so I'm a couple seconds behind. So we'll just try to do our best here as we watch the battle between Fiallo and Squirek. Does Squirek have anything for Fiallo? They only have the better part of a lap left.
And the checker flag will come out here in 30 seconds, Bill, as Flannery will not have enough time, I don't believe, to make it back around.
So as we come around, yeah, with just 30 seconds or 13 seconds to go here. Here's your leader, Ryan Flannery.
He's making his way around
the last. Well, he'll get around. Let's see. Will we have time? No, it's 40 minutes. It is over. Checkered flag will fall for Ryan Flannery. He will win this round at Brands Hatch. Keep an eye on Dion Fialo as he comes around, and he'll come down the front stretch, followed by Don Squirick. They'll finish up second and third, respectively. And Jake Browning will end up fourth, just barely. Then comes Michael Day. Will finish up. Then Zach Holden in sixth. Waiting for the rest of the field to come across. Hutchings will be seventh. Chuma Onabogu will salvage in eighth. Corbin Mitchell ninth. And Matt Laster will round out the top 10. The final four, Mitchell Bright, Tevin Capwell, Michael Green, and finally David Sintel. So, what it lacked in on-track passing, it certainly did not lack in drama, given the squirreliness and misbehavior of these cars tonight.
Well, like we said at the start of the race, Bill, that was going to be a factor, and it was. I mean, the track might as well have been wet tonight with how some of these drivers were losing control. Although I'm sure with a week's worth of practice that should get a little bit better control under their belts before next week at Spa. But let's see if we can go ahead and get somebody up here in the booth. We haven't talked to Ryan in a while. Let's see if we can go ahead and pull him up here.
It's always good to get the race winner up.
Although
here.
every time I pull him up in the booth, it seems like it's right when he goes to the bathroom. Ryan Flannery in the broadcast booth. How's it going?
You know, it's going pretty good over here. Really happy about that.
Yeah, well, how did you stay out of trouble? Seemed like everybody behind you was getting off track and taking some adventures through the gravel and all sorts of things. What was the difference tonight?
So I've driven this track a lot on other sims, the Setta Corsa Competizione, and things like that. So I think I had a little hand up on that. And then I also had a little more practice in these brand new cars that we have tonight. So I think I just kept it together. I mean, I think everyone else behind me went off at least once. So.
What did you find to be the biggest adjustment you had to make then with these with the new tire model and everything, the new physics?
It's actually a lot easier to drive hard. It's just getting comfortable around these grass sections is really tough to do. So you just end up staring at the grass, and if you even look at it wrong, you're going to go around.
That we saw plenty of that. It happened. It bit Dion and Jake. And pretty much almost everybody behind you was having trouble with that, but you were able to keep it on the pavement, and it paid off for you.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a good race. I wish someone was able to keep it for a good ending, but you know, I'll take a win. Win's a win.
A win is always a good ending when you're the winner, right?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Any close calls?
Yeah, I hit the grass a few times, but with this new tire model, it's actually a lot easier to save if you don't go too far over, and just gotta know where to go on the grass, I guess. That's all I gotta say.
Okay, so you're gonna be putting in some seat time, I guess, between now and Spa?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying this car, so I'll definitely be practicing for next week. See if I can close out the season strong.
Excellent, sounds good. Race winner Ryan Flannery driving from our perception, a nearly flawless race and avoided the trouble that befell a lot of his competitors.
All right, let's see if we can grab someone else up here. I saw Jake Browning was in there. I know I'd like to talk to him, although
whether he wants to talk about it
I
or
think
not.
He saw us grabbing people up into the booth and said nope. And let's see. Let's see. We can probably grab Dion and Don up here. Grab them one at a time. Dion in the broadcast booth. How's it going?
Going all right.
Hey, you survived. And you actually did a pretty nice comeback after a couple little off-road excursions.
Yeah, so those like 5 or 6 laps in practice were my first laps in the car since the update. So it was just a whole learning experience the whole way through. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So what do you find to be, is it a like, a don't like? What would you...
It's all right. It's all right. Biggest thing that changed was the braking feel. You have to... It's a lot more difficult to trail brake. You got to be a lot softer on the pedal. So it's just not as forgiving.
Well, is that something you could adjust out in your settings, say, or is this something you've got to adjust to as the driver?
You can adjust the brake bias, and maybe that'll work. The difficulty is that this car has a lot of dive to it, and you usually use that dive to help turn the car.
Okay.
So put too much to the rear, you lose the dive.
All right. Well, still, I think second place, given everything that happened. You're about. I think Ryan was about the only one who didn't have some kind of event happen, at least as far as our top runners go. So we were watching how you took off after your incident, and we're just making time up. You made it exciting.
Yeah.
No, probably the kind of excitement you don't want to have, but overall you did pretty well.
Well, the thing I want to know, Bill, is Dion, why the early pit stop? We've been watching you take it well past the halfway point these first 4 races. What changed tonight?
Well, both spins I caught the wall, so I was thinking I was nursing a little bit of damage, so I wanted to get the repair in to gain that time back. And then that was the earliest possible pit stop I could do to make it to the end. And then I just kind of wanted to hopefully get some clear track and new tires and do the best I could, try to jump them in the pit sequence.
Well, it clearly worked for you because you were able to manage to get that second place finish, and congratulations on that. I don't know if you have any other questions for him, Bill.
I think that's good. Now, we always enjoy watching Dion drive. It puts on a clinic for everybody, and so we enjoy that. Congratulations on the second place finish. We'll see you next week at Spa.
Thank you very much.
All right, that's second place. Now, we typically do 3 of these. Do we want to speak to Don, or do we want to grab Zach Holden? Who?
Yeah, let's. I want to talk to Don actually, just because I was just curious. Well, you'll want to ask if you can get him. You'll find out from my
Don
question.
in the broadcast booth with Bill and Will. How's it going?
Pretty good.
Don, we didn't get to talk about you as much today. You kind of had put in a workmanlike performance. You kind of survived and ended up on the podium. What were your feelings with this new physics model?
Well, to be honest, I love it. My German Lamborghini did pretty well. Kind of, this track is just difficult to overtake. Starting on the outside kind of got me out of position a couple times, and just was in the wrong spot at the wrong time for a lot of corners there. Fell back. Then it looked like myself and Matt had a little bit of a tangle. I took as much curb as I could, but I think it's just a bit tight. We made contact there and spun me around, so then I just had to put in a recovery drive the rest of the way.
Well, you recovered all the way up to third place, and according to William, I believe you added a couple points to your lead. You padded your series lead. Was it 2 or 3, Will?
It should be 3 more points, so if
you
need to refresh it here on the league page, but I believe it is now a 12-point lead over Zach Holden going into next week's final.
Yep, doing the work that needs to be done.
Well, so you should just be able to put pedal to the metal next week, because what's the worst that could happen if you got a 12-point lead, right?
Yeah, but after 2/3, let's see if I can bring it out on in first next one.
Sounds good. We look forward to watching you go for it at Spa next week. That's your third place finisher, Don Squirick. And do we have anybody else, Will? Or are we ready to call it a night?
I kind of want to, if Zach will talk to us, I want to figure out what happened during that pit stop.
All right, I'll let you take that one.
Zach Holden in the broadcast booth with Bill and Will. How's it going?
Pretty good. How about y'all?
Hey, doing all right. Well, that was a tough finish for you there. You were running pretty strong for most of that race. Reason I brought you up here, just take us through that pit stop. What happened to you there?
Well, first of all, I was trying to set the fuel and missed the pit box, but luckily it wasn't that big of a deal. I was able to get back into my pit stall pretty easily, but then for some reason there was some kind of glitch where the car was released and hit the ground and started to go, and then it put the car back up on the jack, and I'm not really sure why.
I saw that, and I had just assumed it was just jacking you back up to do the other side, but it lifts all 4 tires off at the same time, so I don't know why I thought that.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what happened. I lost tons of time.
Our head's going to roll on your pit crew this week then because of that miscue?
Yeah, I guess so.
So people are getting fired when when he gets back to the shop.
Yeah.
Well, mercy. Any close calls otherwise?
Not really. I had a few off tracks where I had to lift, make sure I didn't spin the car, but other than that, I stayed pretty clean.
The consensus we're getting from your fellow drivers is that the grass was causing more of a problem with this new tire model. That it drove better overall as long as you didn't get in the grass.
Yeah, with the new tires, it felt the grass was extremely slippery compared to how it was before the update.
All right. Well,
Now,
Zach,
you got any? I was gonna say, you got anything going into next week, because it's going to be the final race, and we were trying to do the math here up in the booth, but it looks like you've got about a 12-point mountain to climb, which, assuming Squarick shows up and starts the race, will probably be hard to do. But with today, you've pretty much locked in a second place spot in the series, because I don't think third place is going to be able to catch up to you, since Brant Estes did not start today. And you had a 15-point lead over Matt Lassiter, and you managed to finish ahead of him today. So unless we get more drivers in the field next week, you've pretty much locked that one in. You just going to let it all hang out next week? You got nothing to lose, nothing to gain?
Yeah, well, I also didn't take my free car switch this week. I was trying to see what everybody would be and how all the cars would stand pace-wise, so I was thinking maybe go ahead and take that next week and hop into maybe the McLaren or the Lamborghini, see if I can't be a little bit more competitive.
that'll be interesting to see. Are you gonna? What have you driven? What have you tested? Do you have any observations? Maybe from what you saw on track today about who might have the hot hand?
I'm not really sure. I haven't tested any other cars, but from what I've been told, the Lamborghini and the Audi are fairly similar. Just the Lamborghini seems to be more of a car that likes to be driven on the front of the nose, so that seems to suit more of my driving style, so that could be the choice.
Okay. Well, good luck to you next week at Spa. We'll see how it all shakes out.
Thank you.
And
All righty, Wilbur. Let's see.
And that will do it for us, I believe, on the post-race interviews.
Okay, well, you know what? As long as we're here, might as well tell our folks about Motorworks Porsche. It's an independent, exclusively Porsche performance shop located at Atlanta Motorsports Park. Motorworks offers a fully integrated range of services from scheduled maintenance and repair to street performance, complete track preparation, and custom builds. They specialize in engine and transmission building, custom exhaust and header systems, as well as a strong focus on purpose-built track cars. So on that note, almost got all my blue cards in today, but that'll wrap it up for us from Brands Hatch in this round of the AMP eSeries, round 5. So next week will be the last week. We trimmed them off. So next week at Spa, we'll go over to France, have a baguette or a beignet or whatever it is they eat over there, some escargot, and we'll see you again next week.
And that'll cap off season 4 next week.
Yeah, we'll finish up. Yep.
It's crazy how quick 6 weeks goes by, Bill.
I tell you what, but it's been exciting and it's been interesting. It's a different story every week, different kind of drama, it seems like, every week. And this time it was the men versus the machines, and Ryan Flannery ended up triumphing, and Dion Fiallo, Don Squarick survived. So with that, for our producer, my sidekick, our director, Will Rigdon, I'm Bill Rigdon, wishing you a pleasant good evening. Again, this is the Atlanta Motorcar Club and Storage GT3 Cup, and we will see you next week from Spa.